Hey everybody, it is Sunday morning and I just got the lights turned on here in the fish room, and I think today what we're going to do is have a combination indoor-outdoor video. I was out on my kayak the other day and I found an absolutely amazing piece of driftwood, and I want to go out and get it today. The problem was the other day I was in my smaller kayak that really doesn't have a lot of room for carrying a bunch of big, bulky, heavy stuff. So today I'm going to load up my other kayak that is capable of carrying big, bulky stuff, and we're going to go get that piece of driftwood. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with it. This is the only tank I can think that I could possibly put it in, and if I do, I just don't know where I would put it or how I would put it in here. You'll see once we get out there looking at it. It's big. It's a really good looking piece, but it's not big like this. Well, you'll just have to see it to see what I'm talking about, but I don't know if it's going to wind up going in this tank or if I'm going to have to wind up putting it somewhere else. And by somewhere else, my only other two choices would be either somehow positioning it in here, which I genuinely don't believe. I mean, maybe I could put it in there and have it sticking up this way or something, but the base of it is big. It's going to take up a lot of space, and I don't know if it's going to fit right here in this 40-gallon tank. And again, I just don't know if we're going to have the room to put it in that tank back there. My other option will be, of course, to just use it as a visual piece, as, you know, sort of yard art out in the garden somewhere. I can always do that. But I don't know. But we're going to find out. I'm going to go get it. So sit tight, and I will see you either on the way out to the water or I will see you on the water. Alright everybody, here we are pulling more or less out of the cove where the boat launch is. The boat launch is maybe a quarter-mile behind us by now. It's Sunday, so it's pretty crowded out here for Pretty Boy Reservoir. So what we are going to do now is go straight across the main channel here once we get around this point. I just figured I'd get a little bit of scenery in since we're out here. I don't know if the glare is coming out on that water or not. I've got polarized glasses so I can see into it, but it's really, really crystal clear. Well, maybe not crystal clear now that I'm really looking into it. It's pretty clear though. Anyway, we are actually going across the channel to right around into there. On the shoreline is a really nice piece of wood that I found that we're going to try to incorporate into one of my aquariums, as I've already mentioned, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's kind of big, but we'll see. The other thing we're going to do while we're out here, I just got done having a little chat with my wife. There's another big piece of driftwood I found the other day while I was out here, and it's really, really awesome looking piece of wood, but way too big to fit in any of my aquariums. So I thought it would make for a nice visual piece in the garden. And as I said, I just got done having a little text conversation with my wife, and she agrees. Go ahead, bring it home, because worst case scenario, it's a piece of wood, and if we don't like it, we don't have to use it. But we're going to go get that after we get the first piece of wood. But as I said, we're going to start right around here on the shoreline, and then we got to go a good ways down the channel, about a mile down the way, and we're going to find that other piece of wood at the far back end of another cove. So sit tight, and I'll see you once we get to the other side. Alright, it's sitting right where I left it. So let's go get it. This here is the piece I was looking at. So that looks pretty awesome, although now that standing here, I realized you might have been looking directly at that branch. So that's the one piece, and if we took a little time and looked around, we could probably find some other stuff. I'm sure there'd be some good stuff out in the water. I did see one piece up here as I was motoring past, but it's probably a little too far to walk up there to get to, and it was still standing upright. So it was interesting looking, but probably not worth going and checking out. So alright, that's my one piece. We'll have to see where this one ends up, but for now it can go back here. There we go, perfect. Alright, I'm going to get back on with it. We need to go, I don't know, maybe another quarter mile, half mile down the water, and then back into a cove, and then all the way to the back far corner of that we will get to the other piece of driftwood. That will probably sit across the front, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So sit tight. See you around the bend. Alright, we are pulling into the cove where the piece of wood that we're going to go get is located. And once again, I'm just getting a little bit of pretty scenery as we motor on past. So we just made a right-hand turn off of the main channel. This land out here in front of us is a big island in the middle of this cove, and all this is still part of the cove. All the way over to this point of land right here is the other entrance to the mouth of the cove, and then that way is the main channel. So anything from here back into where we are is this big cove. So I like coming back here and fishing. There's all kind of cool places to pull over and get out, walk around in the woods. There's a place just down here and around the bend. My regular outdoors viewers will know from my last video, I call it the cathedral because of all the big tall trees and open spaces. So that's right back there for my regular viewers, and we are going down around the island and back into that corner, and back there is where that piece of wood sits. So sit tight and I will see you back there. Alright, here we are back in the general vicinity of where we're going. I know it's back here somewhere. I'll spot it as we motor on past. Just a week or so ago, this whole entire hillside was covered in honeysuckle. It smelled absolutely amazing. And for now, we have to kind of keep our distance. There's a lot of trees and branches and stuff just under the surface of the water through there. My other kayak that I can paddle, doesn't have a motor sticking down below me, is a different story. Oh, there it is. That's what we're looking for right there. So sort of between those two goalposts right there is where we're going to be heading. So let me get the motor hoisted and turned around using the paddle, and we'll make our way in there, and we'll see if we can't fill that space up with a big old piece of wood. Alright, now I bumped into it as we pulled up and I heard cracking noises, so let's hope I didn't do any damage here. Get out of the kayak without falling down. Alright, so this is a small piece, and that can easily come back with me. So that actually broke off of the piece originally, the very first time I came out here when I was by myself. So we'll put that there. And then this is the other piece. Let's set it up here for now. That's rather heavy. So presumably that's how it sat when it was growing. And it's just got so much going on, so much texture. So we will put that right there like that. I will get back in like this. And with any luck, we'll be on our way. I don't know how much I pushed myself up onto land here, but probably a little more than I wanted to. There we go. Just saw a really nice largemouth bass sitting down here in the weeds. I saw a smallmouth bass that I wouldn't have minded catching, and I saw some really big sunfish in a school of a lot of little ones. So I think I'm gonna go back and get my rods. And then we will come back out here, or at least I'll come back out here and get a little bit of fishing done. So that's the big island out in front of us. We're going around back out into the cove, heading that way and making our way back to the truck. So there you go. It's a heck of a hood ornament, but that's not a lot different than it looked when I brought my great big piece of wood that you see in my New World tank. I did the same thing with that. I had that sticking up out of the front like a great big old hood ornament. So, all right, everybody, I'll see you back at the tank. All right, we have successfully made it back to the truck. This piece is just fantastic. I love it. Cannot wait to see where we're going to put it in the garden and what we're going to do with it. It's already got moss and lichen growing on it. This is the piece that we're hoping will make it into the aquarium. Don't know if it will or not, but we'll see. And then this one here also will go into the garden. So that's a nice little one. So alright everybody, I'll see you back at the house and see you at the tank. Alright everybody, we are back to the house. I have spent the last 15 or 20 minutes rinsing that out with the hose, getting all the crud and soft, sort of half rotten wood out of the insides. It turns out that there was a bunch of ants with eggs, there was a few spiders, and a few other little creepy crawlies that came out of there. On the plus side, as I got in there and really started scrubbing away and clearing out all the insides there, I found out that almost all of this piece right here, this is mostly hollow, and I was squirting the hose in through this crack and water was gushing out the bottom down here. So all of this is hollow. Several of these little nooks and crannies actually go through and come out the other side. And again, I know it's just really hard to get a good look at what's going on in there, but it's really beautiful. Lots and lots of texture, lots and lots of personality. I'm going to try to position this in a way that we'll be able to see this view of it. And I'm not exactly sure how to do it just yet. So I don't think this is going to go inside tonight. Too many bugs on it. I'm going to leave it out here overnight just to give it a chance to really get the bugs off of it. I'll squirt it down with the hose a few more times. I might even bring a pan of really hot water out here and pour some really scalding water over the whole thing and see if I can't remove any more of the bugs. So hang on, we will wrap this video up tomorrow because I definitely want to end all of this by showing you what it looks like in the tank. So sit tight and we will see you down by the fish tank. Alright everybody, here we are back at the tank, and I've done a few measurements. I think I can get it in there but I'm not sure yet. I may have to cut this piece here off or something like that. I don't know. We might have to trim it down a little bit to get it in there, but I think I can do it as is. I think it can fit down at this end, but first I'm going to have to get in there and remove some of the wood. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but there's a big piece of woodwork, which is actually another piece I found one day when I was out kayaking around. I thought it was awesome, so I brought it home, and it just kind of ended up in that tank. So I need to pull that out, and I think it's time to say goodbye to our big log that goes across here. We may be able to reincorporate that, but I think for the time being, that is going to have to come out of there. So I thought about doing a before and after, and I thought about setting the tripod up and showing everybody what I'm going to do and the whole process and everything, and I decided I think everybody would probably rather have me set the tripod up, and so you can watch me get in there and physically do all this work. So that's what we're going to do. So I think probably about here or something like that is going to be the angle we get. So sit tight, let me get the tripod set up, and we will get to work. Alright everybody, I drained a little bit of water and I turned the power head off there on the left to give us a little more working room. So I'm sad to say, get ready to see some tragic stuff happen to that Anubias there. There's not much I'm going to be able to do about that. I think it's growing on the wood we're going to be removing. But let me first start with that big piece up top. This one, unfortunately, is going to disrupt my whole pile of floating water spray. I'm not even sure how to get this one out of here. I've got to take it all the way to the end of the tank and out. There's that piece. Now, I don't have the viewfinder facing me, so I can't glance over to see what the camera's seeing, but I think you're getting a pretty good view of all this. So I should really come through here and remove a lot of this. This mat of vegetation is getting so dense, it's got a lot of cyanobacteria and stuff growing down in the middle of it. So this, move this stuff out of the way without knocking anything down. This is the big piece of wood. This Anubias is sort of attached from the wood to this rock here. It's trying to bring the rock up with it. All that Anubias is, well, it's not really attached. Well, it's not really attached at all. So there's the Anubias, there's the piece of wood. You can see why I love that piece of wood. At least I hope you can see that. Alright, now still got to keep some weight on that apparently. So I think the buoyancy on the piece we're putting in there is going to be a bit much too. I do have some rocks that will hold it down if it will fit in there. So this is going to be the tricky part. See if we can actually wiggle it in there. Should probably move my lights out of the way too. Alright, trying to figure out how this is supposed to actually sit. I think it's going to have to do something like that. It's going to be the only way it'll fit in there. Now, once you can see what I can see what's sticking up out of the tank, that's just waiting to put somebody's eye out. So, we might have to rethink that a little bit. I might have to, here, let me get you off the tripod. It's just kind of wedged in there, so it's actually being held in place. So, hang on a minute. All right. So look at that, sticking right out. And probably wouldn't put my eye out, but that would go right into my mouth as I walked by. So that's probably not the best of ideas to have that sticking out of there like that, but I really do like it. And we got a second one here. It's a 2-pointer. So if the first one doesn't get you, the second one will. As far as how it looks, though, I absolutely love it. The light shining down on top of it like that just looks fantastic. It's that piece right there that's hanging me up. I think if I cut this off, I'll be able to roll it back and stand it up more this way. And by doing that, we will also open this area up to the light, which I want to have some light in there. So we'll have to wait and see if I can do that. But I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I think I'm going to have to get in there. And it's unfortunate because that really is a beautiful piece of wood. I love all that sort of curled texturing of the way the grain goes around like that. That was probably root structure at once, you know. So hang on, we're not done. I do want to get this situated, how I'm going to actually get it situated. You've basically seen the nuts and bolts of the process. I got a big pile of stuff on the floor over there I need to take care of. Got these pieces of wood up here that need to get resituated. I probably really definitely should do something with this mess. I mean, you can see how much cyanobacteria and kind of nasty stuff's growing in that. It's kind of just a thick mat. So definitely time to get in and maybe pull some of that stuff out. So hang on, we will have one last look at this, and then we'll do one final view once I've got it all sort of situated. So hang on. All right, everybody, just a little bit of in progress look. Let me just point out that I probably should have taken the light bar down before I started doing all this. All right, let me get back to it. All right. So the tank is still a little bit messy from the water swirling around, but you can probably tell I got in there and did a little more work once I got done with the video we were just looking at. And what I did was I cleared out all of that water sprite. I actually took this whole mess outside and used the garden hose and cleaned out all the roots and just washed all that gunk out. I threw away a bunch of small stuff and little bits and pieces that were all in there and caught up. So I got rid of all that. I also tore out that huge chunk of Java fern that was completely covered with cyanobacteria. I threw that away and replaced it with a new piece of Java fern, so that looks nice. And then once we got this situated, I was able to get that Anubias sort of wedged between it and the rock that's holding it down. There's also another rock in the back leaning up against the piece of wood holding it down. The big piece still needed a little something on it to hold it down, so that rock is still sitting there serving that purpose. And all in all, I like it. Not terribly happy with the way I had to kind of get it in here. It actually is touching the light right there, so the light's kind of being pushed off to the side. as far as it being, you know, hot enough to cause a fire or anything like that, that's not a concern at all. These are LEDs, so it's not hot at all. It's barely even warm to the touch all the way over on the edge like that. So not too concerned about that. But we are, you know, on either side of this light bar, so I'm not overly happy with that. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't necessarily like the way that looks sticking up in the air, and I don't necessarily like the way that looks up off the ground. That just kind of looks odd and unnatural. So it's not unusual for me to go through all of this and, you know, finally get something done and then not entirely like the way it looks. That's all part of the process. I'm working on it. We'll get it in there. What I'm thinking I might like is to take these curved lines and bring them down into the tank and sort of, you know, we've already got the curved lines this way here. Put this down here and just roll it so we've got curved lines this way, and then this would be sitting like that and still facing forward. So I don't know. I just wanted to get it done and in the tank, and I want water to start soaking into it, so pretty soon we'll be able to keep it in there by itself. It's almost ready to sink. I mean, it barely needed any rocks on it to hold it down at all, so it won't take long for it to soak up enough water that I'll be able to lay it on its side, or we'll be able to move it around or do something. But it's not as big as I thought it was going to be once I got it in here and got it into the tank. Once we lay it down, or we can always do the possibility of laying it this way and then, you know, having it go up and out at an angle, which again would almost give the tank a smiley face sort of appearance. Don't know if I'm digging that idea or not. Well, whatever. Like I said, this is all just sort of part of the process. I'm just kind of thinking out loud already, but that can, you know, that gives you an idea that I'm not real overly happy with the way that looks right there. It just sort of, I don't know, something just doesn't look right about that tank anymore. That just doesn't feel right to me. But you got to see the process and at least me starting it, so maybe one of these days here we'll get to rearranging it and doing something different. Honestly, I don't like the way you just can't see in there at all. There's so much texture and all kinds of stuff going on. That actually goes all the way out and through, and yet you can't even see. It's just darkness. So maybe that might look cool after a while, and you get to see some fish drifting in and out of the darkness or something. I don't know. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss anything I've got coming up. You won't miss any of the updates on this tank or anything else. You never know what it's going to be with me. Don't forget, this one is my New World tank. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you real soon in the next one.